How's everybody doing? Hi. Again, we are going to do another video, and this video has to do with, again, compatibility of signs or incompatibility of signs. In this instance, we are doing Gemini and Sagittarius. But before I do, let me just go into some announcements. I've been getting some slack on YouTube. One person cursed me out, wrote me some nasty stuff, faggot, this and that. She got really upset, because I guess I said something about the air signs, like Libra, that she didn't happen to agree with, and I want to let her know that I stand behind what I say. Every single fucking word, I'm sorry that she feels how she feels. She wrote me some very large essays, and she has a lot of valid points. But when I do these videos, we're talking in the archetype generic. For specifics, you have to have a birth chart done. This is a business. So if you took offense to it, I'm sorry that you did, but understand that when I do these videos, we are talking in a generic level. But if it doesn't apply to you, it should not have struck your buttons the way it did. Because it did, and you cursed me out to the deplorable degree that you did, lets me know that I must have been on point about something. And you didn't like it. And I pulled it out. And you insulting and criticizing me, you thought that I was going to back off. I don't back off. Okay? So get a therapist and deal with your problem. This is exactly why I do these videos. Okay? But you have to be man and woman enough and put on your panties and put on your pants and confront your own truth. And if you can't do it alone, then get a therapist to help you. That's what I say. Or call me or someone like me that can help you. But don't kill the messenger, But I'm going to tell it. I'm the one that's going to tell it, whether you like it or not. So for all of you out there that don't seem to agree, if you don't agree, then it doesn't apply to you. If it agrees with you, great. And if you want to go further with it, even better. But listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. And this is the thug Virgo in me talking, right? So, that's one thing that I have to say. The other thing that I want to say is, I want to say thank you so much for you guys donating what you have been donating. Miss McLeod, Aaron Buck, he said, I'm not a baby. He doesn't realize that he is a baby. But he's the cute baby. If I was a baby like him, I'd be getting laid left and right. Keep the baby in you. Women love that. Of course they do. No, I mean that in a good way. I want to thank Anita as well. Angeline. Thank you so much for donating. I'm doing another play in February for Black History Month. Again, dealing with our brothers and sisters who have been shot down by law enforcement. They were our fallen brothers and sisters, both black and white. And I'm doing a play, and I'm going to have a sponsor at a college. So your donations are helping towards that cause. And if you guys are in New York City, please come to my performances. Because this is where your money is going. And I put everything out in the open. I ain't no Donald Trump. I can show you my tax receipts. You know what I'm saying? So, as much as your dollars, I need your body. So if you're ever in New York, and we're doing another show on the 17th, on the 19th of February, which is President's Day. And I hope that if you're in New York City, hook me up, call me up. If you are a sponsor and a donor, I will have you a special seating right along with me and introduce you to the movers and shakers that make these things happen along with your money. So please, let me know if you're in town. That way you can come and see one of our performances and continue to give, because it really does help. Thank you so much. We won't be doing this if it wasn't for your support. Please. And another announcement I want to make is that we are 2 or 3 days before Christmas. So if you guys want to do a Christmas gift to someone by doing a consultation reading, I do them for 2 hours a pop. That's 150 a pop. Okay, and it's been working pretty well. It wasn't my idea. Someone actually suggested it from YouTube. One of my subscribers, they said, "Don't do charts because it's a lot of work. You should focus in on it for next year. Just do readings over the phone. People will pay $150 a pop for 2 hours, and I give a lot for 2 hours. In addition to be guiding you for the entire year, I normally don't advertise on YouTube. I don't think I need to do that. Sometimes it doesn't help because sometimes you get a lot of volume, and I do other kind of work. But I didn't realize that there are people out there that may actually want to communicate and talk about some serious stuff. So I want to be able to open that to you, okay? That all the way to New Year's Eve, because there's some people that might need to talk and have a conversation or maybe feeling a certain way. So I offer those services. I always did when I was a psychotherapist, and I do now as an astrologer. Okay, so just to give you that announcement that we're available, okay? And of course, when it's posted in my videos and my phone number, you can go to my website, www.thepeoplesastrologer.com. My address and phone number and everything is there. I'm very public, or on Google. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Sagittarius and Gemini. And one of the things that I have to say about Sagittarius and Gemini is that they're both fire. Both of them are, Sagittarius is fire, Gemini is air. But they're both simpatico, is what I meant to say. They're both simpatico. They both well together. And even though you have a lot of polar opposite signs that are considered incompatible, you still do have those signs that, even though they're polar opposites, still fall under the category of compatible signs. Okay? And you have those that are incompatible. For example, Aries and Libra, they are both polar opposites. And even though many of them have many traits within each other, they are considered by most astrologers to be incompatible. So they fall under the category of incompatibility of signs. Not true of Sagittarius and Gemini. Gemini actually works. Compatibility with Sagittarius, which is the polar opposite, can actually work. The working component actually occurs with Gemini or through Gemini, not Sagittarius. Gemini being a mutable sign, right? Being a mutable earth sign is actually capable of relating interpersonally with any sign of the zodiac. The problem with the question becomes Sagittarius, because this is the man that needs constant freedom, continual freedom, perpetual freedom. Not just freedom for mind and body, but also freedom mentally, philosophically, and psychologically. He needs to be free. He needs to feel psychologically able to move around and define his own space. And also set those same parameters for the person that he's with. Gemini, not so much. Understand, and of course, if we're talking about the Gemini woman, that's going to be a different discussion if we talk about the Gemini man. The Gemini man and the Sagittarian woman is a different relationship dynamic than the Gemini woman and the Sagittarian man. So we are going to base, which is the more popular, the concept of the Sagittarian man with the Gemini woman. Understand that it is the Gemini woman that has the ability to sustain the relationship. Like I say in my other videos, who's the boss? Who's the boss? In this instance, the boss will be Miss Gemini. Mutable air with mutable earth. Now, before I begin the actual description of that, I gotta go again to Mother Nature, because all of us are walking, talking, breathing dust. that eventually will lay down back where it came from, and our spirit goes back to the heavens where we came from. Because again, we're not from here. We've been put here, but we're not from here. Only our dust, our carbon matter belongs here, but not our spirit. Okay? So we just peregrining through this sojourn in this plane. Understand that when you are dealing with a Gemini woman, well, before I go with that, let me continue with Mother Nature. Before I can give you a full detail about the Gemini Sagittarius relationship as a polar opposite and why it works, whereas other polar opposite signs it doesn't work, like Aries and Libra. No, but then you have besides Gemini and Sagittarius, other polar opposite signs which work as well, like Virgo and Pisces. Virgo and Pisces actually work very, very well together, even though they're polar opposites. Not so with all of the signs, but Sagittarius and Gemini is one of those examples where it does work. And the functional aspect of that relationship is the Gemini woman that actually makes it work. If we're talking about the Gemini man with a Sagittarian woman, the one that will make it work or control it or hold it down in that relationship will be the Sagittarian woman. Because the Gemini man is too, how can I put it, ratchet to keep a moral compass. That's not true of all Geminis, but I've yet to meet one that is. Because they always got something else going on. Remember, you always got to deal with the Jekyll and Hyde of Gemini. Even with the best of intentions, you still got to deal with that other side. And it could be the darkest part of Gemini. And we cannot dismiss it because that's part of the person. None of us are no one without the dark part of nature within us. Nature has a dark side. And she has a good side. So too do we as human beings have a dark side and a good side. Gemini as an archetype represents that principle. So that means that same energy, that same dichotomy that exists in nature also exists within us. And Gemini is the archetype which represents that model. So Gemini has the power to harmonize and keep things unionizing together or make it fall apart. Remember, it's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the messenger of the gods. So if Mercury is not there to be the intermediary between the gods and man, then man cannot advance, man cannot evolve. That's the mythology of Gemini and Mercury associated with Gemini. It's a different mythology when we deal with Mercury associated with Virgo, which is a different sign under a different element, So in order to understand the psychology of Gemini, you have to understand its mythology. The same with Sagittarius, because it gives you a clue as to how the relationships interdynamically will relate. If you don't have that knowledge, then you're going into the relationship blind. Let me tell you something. When I date somebody, a man or a woman, I always, if it's a Sagittarius, well, I'm an astrologer, so I'm going to know all the mythologies of all the signs. But when I was young and I wasn't professional, and I was learning and I was a student, I would always look at the mythology of the signs. And if Virgo fits the mythology or Mercury, then maybe there is a role that I can play in the life of a Sagittarian. With Virgo, like I am, the strongest mythology that Virgo has is with Scorpio, which I've talked plenty about, And I'm happily married with a Scorpio, after 10 years. And happily married before that with another one, a woman who, like I said, died of cancer. So if you understand the mythology of your sign and the sign of the person that you're dealing with, you can have a clue, a heads up, if spiritually you're even supposed to be together. if it's supposed to even work, and what kind of issues do you guys have to work through together? You know, because another situation is karma. Karma also brings people together, either to resolve issues that took place in a former life that has to reach closure and resolution in this life for you to continue to evolve up the spiral of evolution, or it can also be a non-karmic situation where you meet so that both of you can grow together, or one is here to aid the other so the other can also evolve and grow. You see, there are many, many, many relationship dynamics that are at play, not just with Sagittarius and Gemini, but with all the signs of the zodiac, with all each other. Now, so the mythology, if you understand the mythology of the signs, you can understand pretty much what's supposed to go on or what's supposed to play on. Or if there is a situation of conflict, you can probably get a heads up as to an understanding as to why it is through the mythology. It might work, it might help you, it might not help you. But it is some place to look at. The mythology of Gemini is that of wanting to find its eternal twin, wanting to find its soulmate, wanting to find the other half. If you look at the constellation Gemini in the heavens, you know, the actual star map, you see that they look like two twins holding hands together. It's kind of creepy and eerie. But they look like two people like holding hands, the twins. It's creepy. You know, and you know, there are celestial beings that live in those constellations. You know, we're not allowed to really talk about them. They're highly demonic and very harmful to humans. But Gemini is quite an energy that is, you know, well, you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. You know, these are demonic stars. But the archetypical nature of Gemini also has a very intensely demonic aspect in nature to it. That explains the Jekyll and Hyde and nature. And one can be very good and one can be very, very bad, very demonic. I've seen it, I've experienced it, you know, and that is reflective of those stars. I'm not going to go deep into it because I'm not allowed to discuss those mysteries to that degree. But I will tell you this, that the Gemini energy and the Gemini constellation harbor some beings that are not of this world. So when you're dealing with the complexity of Gemini, both man and woman, you need to take into account the fact that the complexities of the soul, which is incarnated as a Gemini, is a soul which has pedigree through many star systems and solar systems. And when they're born on Earth, this becomes like a boring, bland place to them. They don't even know why, but they know that they're not always happy here. They seem to be bored and malcontent. It's something that they don't talk about because nobody's going to really understand what they're talking about. But only sorcerers, witches, and astrologers, we understand what they mean. You know? Because not every Gemini that's born on this planet has always been on this planet. Some of us reincarnate into other planets, into other star systems. And some of us decide, oh, let me go to the little blue planet over there and see what that's about, and then come here. And we call those new souls. But then you have souls who have incarnated in so many incarnations and so many different star systems and planets and different existences that when they incarnate here, they can either be extremely evil or they can be great helpers to humanity, helping humanity advance. You know, it really depends on the motivation of the souls that choose to come here. You know, Gemini represents that principle. Sagittarius does also, but not at the level that Gemini does. And as astrologers, we don't fully understand why. We don't fully understand the deep complexities of Gemini as pertaining to Sagittarius. We know Sagittarius will be uh, involved in cosmic truth. But Sagittarius is very well content in keeping those mysteries to himself. Not so with Gemini. Gemini is always going to want to need to communicate and to disseminate and to expound. She's going to always want to communicate. Sagittarius is also a communicator, but his communication is not exclusive to the individual. It's to the universal, like Aquarius. And that might cause a problem for Miss Gemini, who seeks individual attention. Not in a vain way, though. In a way of wanting to communicate with her man and wanting to relate to him. The problem is that Gemini wants to do it on her terms, on her own terms, on her own way. Not really giving a shit about the needs of the Sagittarian. But then again, the Sagittarian is the same way. So then who wins? Who loses? Who's the boss? We had established that it's Gemini. But then how does the Gemini woman relate to the Sagittarian man in a way where she can respect him, admire him, find him attractive, and still bang him? A lot of it has to do actually with freedom, emotional freedom. You know, the Gemini woman needs to feel that her man trusts her. The Gemini woman has to feel that the man can allow her to be who she wants to be, with no explanations, no repercussions, and no qualification as to why. The Gemini woman doesn't like to be questioned, and neither does the Sagittarian. So, if you're going to be happy with a Sagittarian man as a Gemini woman, you can adapt completely to him. You also understand his need for freedom because you need that yourself. So, a relationship with a Sagittarian man is compatible. It can work. Both signs need freedom. Both signs they know the importance of that freedom. They understand that without that freedom, there is no way that they can make a third body, like a relationship, grow. Both of them will be wanting to run away from each other, wanting to run away from the chains and bondages that a commitment offers. Because you see, they see commitment as something that is bound and chained with a ball of chain or ball. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is especially true if the couple is younger. If we're dealing with a couple that's past 30, beyond 30, then these issues probably will not be in play. But what will be in play, we're dealing with couples that are much older, is the level of contentment that they will have towards each other. Will they outgrow each other? Will they become bored with each other? Gemini and Sagittarius both need to be infused into activity. But the activity doesn't have to include each other. And just because it doesn't have to include each other doesn't mean that it's not a workable relationship or that there's something wrong with that. Both Gemini and Sagittarians need to expand. They have a psychological need to expand. And they need to do that with different platforms, different audiences. They already know who they are, so they're not going to expand to each other. That's boring. They need to do that in their own communities, in their own platform. They want to assert their own influence in the communities that they want to impact. But they also want to learn from those same communities that they are also trying to transform. Because to them, communication is not just about words, it's about doing. And it's about implementing a philosophy that they believe in. Both Gemini and Sagittarian share in this belief. And we're done with part one.